Like gigantic, all-crushing waves, the ships of black ghosts rolled on the forts of Discovery Station, one of the main outposts of the planet Earth in the 12GHMT23PQS7 galaxy sector. They arose from the endless depths of space, huge, like the ugly, black stingrays. In the frenzy of fierce anger, rushed to storm the walls, but, smashing their determination against them, exhausting the attacks of embittered rage against their stronghold, rapidly swept away, managing to cause the most terrible destruction vulnerabilities for the station. The compartments, into which their deadly stings had penetrated, were utter hell. The bulkheads burst and collapsed. The drowning rumble, and the crash of a metal, torn into pieces, the whistling sound of a blast wave that smashed everything in its path, sounded like a hot, fiery tornado, ranging along the station, melting and burning everything that came along the way. In this infernal cacophony, in this mad dance that broke free to death, the ear of a living person could hardly catch death. Full of pain and agony, the cries and groans of the unfortunate inhabitants of the station, who died in their cabins, at the remotes in the operators' cabins, engine rooms, and pilot cabins. The second echelon of defense is broken. The third echelon cannot stand in the next 15 minutes. There is a threat to the deep compartments of the station. The power station is on the limit. Bruno, how are things going with the evacuation of the wounded? The last voice, undoubtedly, belongs to the captain. Even in this chaos of sounds, every inhabitant of the station, any operator or technician, will never confuse the voice of his captain with any other. Hirohito, what are the losses in the residential sector? The captain's voice is soft, with a slight hoarse. There are notes of deadly fatigue in him, but in him you will not hear any despair, or even the slightest trace of panic. Depressurization in the third compartment. Otto Hunberg's fingers dug into the console's keyboard even more. How could he help the unfortunate? A moment later, he, himself, could turn into a fiery, screaming torch or clog in death agony, splashing blood on the walls and chair of the operator's room. Therefore, biting his lips to bleeding wounds, and trying, with all his might, to ward off the tears of rage and despair that rolled over his eyes, dimming everything around with a muddy, whitish veil, Otto stiffened in his chair and, glaring at the computer monitor, with the frenzy of the doomed, pressed, with all his strength, with white fingers, the disintegrator's launch button, in the very instant when a black, shapeless spot swam into the crosshair of his sight, and from time to time, a dazzling star flashed somewhere in the distant, black chasms of the galaxy. Retribution overtook another scoundrel. It seemed as though, for myriads of light kilometers, with all his being, he felt how shrill squeals, twisting into red-hot plats of space. From there, from the bottomless depths, screams of horror and hatred of creatures dying in their ships rushed, and each such cry, like a sweet, solemn music, sounded in the hearts of earthlings. The last vulture flew away, and at the half-ruined, mutilated station, like a distraught, hurt dog that had lost its owner, the sound of a space alarm howled. And that was both a song of celebration and victory over a hated enemy, and a requiem for those who lay bleeding in countless cabins and halls of the station, stepping over the bloodied, mutilated corpses every now and then, stumbling over pieces of broken, warped plating, bending under the weight of a high-protection spacesuit. Otto walked towards the captain's cabin. A silent black shadow, he emerged from the darkness of the far corner of the cabin, and carefully sat on the edge of the bed. Otto, suddenly awakened by an outside presence, jumped up in confusion, staring in surprise at the uninvited guest. So they sat for a while, looking at each other. Blonde and blue-eyed, athletic build, a 2-meter-tall earthling of some creature, definitely not a hominid type, rather some formless black cocoon, not having, at least any, certain part of the body, in our understanding. I see that my presence, earthling, is unpleasant for you, came the voice from the top of the stranger. His voice was quiet and cracked, slightly raspy. The same, slightly grumpy, timbre was of old Ludwig, an eccentric teacher of German language and literature. He loved to recite Goethe and Schiller to his recipes. Who you are? What are you doing here? How did you get in here? Otto was confused. Cocoon shook in a fit of raucous laughter. The Earthman's questions visibly amused him. I'm one of those whom you call black ghosts. I'm Sorg, a deputy of the Supreme Council of the planet's Vog. I belong to the people of ORT, their highest caste. I represent the interests of my people in the council. How did you get in here? You see, young man, here, in your cabin, you can see, just my phantom, a mirage sent through the distances of the galaxy. Otto could not suppress the temptation and burning, mischievous, boyish curiosity. Stretching out his hand in front of him, he led her across the spot where the ghost was. The reaction of the Earthling has caused a new attack of fun at the intruder. Cocoon was shaking in a choking laugh. Finally, coughing, he fell silent. You know, actually, it's not customary for us to enter other people's rooms without knocking when their inhabitants went to bed. Otto frowned. The ethics, Earthlings. We shall move aside, please. Excuse me. I am very annoyed that I disturbed your sleep. However, I, Earthling, have such important matter for all of us, so important that we will leave the issues of culture and ethics of our peoples to better, more suitable times. After all, while guns are pounding, and my countrymen are dying at this very moment, you don't stand on ceremony with Earthlings, either. Yes, the war. But this is the reason that brought me in here. My mission is in solving the problem I've sent to put an end to this madness. SWARG started this slaughter, not Earthlings. But only after the ships of Earthlings invaded our control zone and destroyed several of our tracking stations. The stations fired and damaged several Earth ships. And, by the way, this zone of the galaxy is a disputed territory and, as far as I know, neither side has unambiguously proved legal rights to it. I can continue to argue with you, young man, but it is unproductive. There's a different reason I came in here. Let our governments decide who is to blame for this war when it is over. And my task is, as soon as possible, to put an end to this slaughter. But why did you come to me? I'm just a simple launch man. A cog in a huge machine. Take it out, replace with another, similar, no one even notice. Yes, I know, you, Earthlings, have the same vicious social model existing on our planet. Such state model that destroys society, like corrosion. Such society in which a person has not chances to be heard by this society. And no one is interested in the opinion of this person. Inevitably, such a society is doomed periodically to slide into all sorts of conflicts, wars, and revolutions. It is a pity, only, that our governments do not understand the seriousness of this process. Or maybe they just realize everything very well, but they are comfortable with this current situation. Sorg heavily sighed. Then, apparently, he smiled. He spoke again, and his voice sounded more light and enlightened. At the same time, I personally prefer the social model adopted on the planet Altus, where even a mechanic or a hairdresser is aware. Whatever he suggested, whatever his idea is expressed, but his voice will always be heard and taken into account. But let's nevertheless return to the purpose that brought me in here. We probed the brains of many Earthlings and found that the brains of only few of Earthlings are able to withstand the direct radiation effect emanating from our virtual phantoms and not be terminated. You see, Earthling, everything that I am about to say is extremely important for both your people and mine. The question is about the life of the entire galaxy. For many years, we have been killing each other. The inhabitants of our worlds perish. The values created by the hands and mind of our scientists and engineers are being destroyed. This could have been lasting for a long time, but, you see, Earthling, killing each other, applying an increasingly sophisticated and destructive weapons, we are now fighting not only civilization against civilization, but two civilizations against one galaxy. It cannot stand our violence anymore. The use of superpowerful weapons destabilized the space-time continuum in this sector of galaxy. We have come to the critical point. The last battle sharply accelerated destructive processes in the structure of the galaxy. Just a few shots of the disintegrator can lead the entire galaxy to death. After 16 turns of your Earth, this part of the galaxy collapses and turns into a giant black hole. We will perish. Thousands of stations of your advanced line will perish. Every civilization in this part of the universe will die. After 150 of your earthly years, the collapse will reach your solar system. But what can I do, me, a simple station operator? Who will believe me? At best, they will consider me insane and isolate me in the treatment unit of the station. You should talk to the captain of this station. Try to convince him. You know who the father of your captain is, what an important post he holds in the government. And the captain highly appreciates and respects you. Before I go to captain, I need guarantees. I need to know your credentials. I have them wide, almost unlimited, up to the surrender of all our bases and fleets. Do you agree to capitulate immediately? Yes, if we get reliable guarantees from your side that the population of our planet will not be exterminated after we disarm. Earthlings do not kill defeated opponents. They haven't doing that for several centuries. At least Otto's voice shuddered with resentment and indignation. I believe you. I must believe you, just as you must believe me. And the last thing I wanted to ask. We do not know your surrender character. White flag. The black cocoon began to fade, turning into a foggy, grey nebula, then, soon, disappeared, and Otto was left alone in a dark cabin. You're tired, man. You need some rest. The captain sat back in his big leather chair, and his long fingers nervously drummed on the table. The captain's eyes were fixed on the ceiling, and it was felt. It made him great efforts to look up at the operator. You must believe me, just as I believed them. Quote, I assure you that all this is not nonsense, and I am not crazy. And if it's a trap, can we believe those who attack our stations kill our people? The captain's fingers banged on the table even more hard and distinctly, and his body tightened, and it seemed that there was not a man sitting in an armchair, but a steel spring, squeezed by an exorbitant burden of responsibility for the station and its crew. We must use the slightest opportunity to end this senseless laughter, so we will save the lives of thousands of people, save our children, save them from the danger of being killed to being. The captain slowly lowered his head and looked at Otto. The captain's eyes were full of unspoken agony and tears. I will accept the surrender. On the captain's table, near the monitor, Otto saw a photograph. Blonde woman hugs two children, a boy and a girl, the captain's family. Any crew member knows. The captain's family died during a raid on a nearby station. It housed the kindergarten of our sector of the galaxy. The captain's wife worked there as a doctor. All residents were burned alive. Yes, I will accept capitulation, even from the devil. If that can stop this war, said the captain, deftly. Then, abruptly, he jumped to his feet, throwing away the chair, and, with a quick step, without looking at the operator, came out. All the crew members, like a flock of playful children, stumbling and pushing each other in the back, rushed to the computers, hoping to cling to the external view screens and see everything with their own eyes. A huge black ramp sailed into the screens, and seemed to fill the entire space of the universe. On the prow of the ship, there was a wide, white, plastic sheet. Check where the gun ports are battered. Operators of all launches assemble in the mess. Footfall on decks, alarmed voices, cries. Operator Jensen locked himself in his cabin. The disintegrator power interlock system is unlocked. Madman, he is going to shoot. He will kill all of us. The shouts intensified. It was heard as they were banging at the Jensen's cabin door. Otto grabbed the blaster and ran towards the Jensen's operator's cabin. On the way, he estimated the remaining time, just to be in time. 15 seconds. The cabin door shattered into melted pieces. 9 seconds. Bursting into the room of the cabin, for a moment Otto saw the fingers of a madman, feverishly dancing on the keyboard of the console, typing the code of the launcher. 5 seconds. Jensen, stop. You will destroy us all, the station, and the entire galaxy. The insane dance of the fingers on the keyboard did not stop for a second. 2 seconds. Distance to the remote is 3. 1. The brain acts automatically. Hands, like robots, work outside the reach of consciousness. At the last second, a person ceases to be human. No time. Dazzling flash. Otto's gaze caught for a moment as the Jensen's console, along with the chair and the man sitting in it, sank into a sea of fire. Forgive me, man. A black silhouette with a white cloth in front was slowly approaching the station.